I'm sure I record this, Women Leaders in Elder World. And we've got Pamela Mills, we've got Patricia Dubroff from Assisting Hands, Ellen Tillman from Ellen Tillman and Company, Corliss Woods from Exit Right Realty, Jessica Parker from Adult Speech Therapy Services, Cynthia Ward from Only Assisted Living, Meryl Schaefer, who you met on Wednesday, I think, with TLC Daily Money Mentors. And throughout the month, we're going to meet these interesting women and learn about what they're offering the world of senior living. And Pamela, today is your turn. So real excited to learn about what Enriching Connections and Concierge Support does.
Well, thank you, Steve. So, hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here and to, join the women leaders of Elder World. And I just want to tell you a little bit about Enriching Connections. We offer staff training in the best practices of dementia care, and we offer people living at home an affordable concierge style, all-inclusive care organization service, which is exclusively for people living with dementia and their care partners. So I have over 25 years experience as a leader and educator for memory care communities and providing person-centered dementia care services. I created Enriching Connections to help each person navigate through this challenging journey in the ways that best suit them. Enriching Connections is able to support you through every step, creating a service plan, recommending sensitive, dementia knowledgeable top service care professionals, completing comprehensive assessments and assisting with family dynamics. Overall, Enriching Connections is here to hear that person's voice and respect their choice, determining the best fit along with them. Enriching Connections understands the complexities of dementia, including the most challenging and overwhelming moments, and are here as your expert support and professional resource, because we really feel that dementia should not be experienced alone. And you can check out the website at www.enrichingconnections.org. And I put up in the chat window our next staff training for Alzheimer's and dementia care credentialing. If you're interested in becoming a certified dementia practitioner, I offer that training as well. And if you're interested in training overall, I can write a training program for your organization and present it to your staff. So thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited to be here. Yay!
Oh, this is great, Pam. And just your background, like you created a dementia training platform for a large community, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've trained over 3,000 people in dementia care.
Okay.
In the best practices of dementia care. And I wrote a dementia care program for Ingleside, for all of 3 of their communities in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, which they've adopted on a corporate level.
But real important that you're not exclusive to providing sort of staff training and community-based training, that you're also really focused on in-home care in those older adults that may be cared at home, and providing them with engagement as well, correct?
The idea is to bring the best practices in every environment, because not every person is ready to or wants to even live in a community. So the whole idea is to kind of bridge those gaps, to bring the expertise that a person might go to a community for, bring that expertise into their home and help them have exactly what they need to be in the place that they want to be when they want to be there.
Great. Well, thanks so much, and we look forward to seeing you throughout the month and your colleagues with the Women Leaders in Elder World. I'm gonna move you to the audience, and by all means, share your information in the chat there for everybody, and I'll also send it out in the follow-up as well. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Great. Okay, so let's see. All right. Okay, let me share my screen and we will get to the program today, which I'm very excited about, and I'm very excited about our presenter who I'll be bringing on here, and that is Rachel Maness. She's the CEO of Southern Salons, right, Rachel? I got it right?
Southern Luxe Community.
Southern Luxe. Okay, yes, okay. But we're going to get to know Rachel here in a moment, but I'm going to share an embarrassing photo of myself here to emphasize the importance of this topic to the audience, okay? This is my COVID-19 hair when I reached the breaking point and my wife had to trim it down for me. But not only have we all sort of lived through the shock and awe of not having, the ability to just go get our hair cut by our favorite stylist, but just imagine the impact that that's had on the lives of the elders who were isolated and not as engaged in the many senior living communities throughout the country. And so there's not a better person to sort of help us understand this topic than Rachel Maness. And so Rachel, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into this, and what Southern Luxe Community Salons does.
Sure. So we provide salon and spa management services to senior living communities. That's the broad thing that we do. But I've been in the beauty industry since 2005. After I graduated from college, I went and got my cosmetology license, and since then I've had many opportunities across the beauty industry to gain experience. And finally, in 2017, I decided to create my own business in the senior industry that kind of just combined my business management experience and my experience in senior communities, fused them together, and I created this business. So that was 2017, and so here we are, 2020, and I have several communities now and almost 25 stylists, so it's going really well. And just a little side note, I am quite nervous.
Yeah, no.
I am not a professional public speaker. This is the first webinar I've ever done, so if I ramble a little bit or stumble here and there, just know that I'm just kind of going to go at this informally, in an informal way.
Yeah, and whether the audience likes it or not, Rachel, I'm on this format. I'm going to be here with you the whole time. Okay.
Okay.
So
if you have to stop me if I start rambling or if I get off topic, just bring me back in, and I apologize in advance.
Yeah, and just so the audience knows, if anything goes wrong in this interview, it's my fault, not Rachel's. Okay. All right. So we're going to be gentle with you there today, Rachel, but I know you've got some valuable information to share with folks, and I'm running your PowerPoint here. So I'm gonna we'll just start going through the slides here, and you just tell me where you want me to go. And yeah, so what's the significance of this?
Yes, so March, infamous month of 2020 for our industry, right? So that's when it all went down, right? Gosh. So it was funny, we were talking the other day preparing for this, and we were like, when did it actually happen? And we found out it was actually a Friday the 13th for us. So at least for my industry, that is the day that it all happened, when we got our back-to-back emails that every single location that we operate in was closed. And honestly, there was a little buildup to it the previous week and a half. Like, I knew it was coming because I'm a little bit addicted to the news. And so I saw what was happening out west in Washington State. And I just was like, oh my gosh, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Oh my gosh. And I even sent out a couple emails to my executive director saying, hey, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Because do we have a plan in place? And there were different reactions across the board, but everybody was like, yeah, we see this coming too. But Friday was the confirmation that
and so like
change.
Yeah, like all of us, we were starting off 2020, and it was, your as optimistic as possible. And as a business owner, I mean, it's stressful enough just running your own business, but when and for a lot of us in the audience, COVID didn't intersect as much as it did with your segment, because I guess Friday the 13th, the brakes literally went on, correct?
They did. I honestly, I have goosebumps. I might have a little PTSD from that week because I have goosebumps right now just talking about it. But honestly, my goodness, yeah, that's when it went down and when this started, right? So let's start here. I said this last week, and it's no longer business as usual, right? Okay, so we can start with that.
No.
So go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's no longer business as usual. And when Rachel and I were putting this program together, brainstorming, she has so much information and so many details after running dozens of salons in the region and going through this in each very unique individual communities. So we kind of came up with these bullet points to just sort of keep us on track on a variety of topics that Rachel thinks are important for everybody to know, whether you're running a salon or you've got another business that's interacting with a senior living community, or you're an employee in a senior living community. There's some really good info that Rachel has to share, but we want to make this a discussion. So as we move into this, I encourage you guys, feel free to just raise your hands if you've got something to add, or type into the Q&A if you've got a specific question or comment or suggestion, okay? Because we want to make this interactive. But Rachel, I'll let you kind of jump on this, and you just tell me what slides or images in your slide deck you want to share with folks.
So like you said, so some of these bullet points are really like over encompassing things that handle a lot of other little things. So this is where I want to start. The first and most important thing, in my opinion, is to reset and change the way we see and the way we interact and approach the beauty shop. Okay. It is not separate from the community. They are your partner. And it doesn't operate it on its own. It's a combined effort because of all the logistics and systems that are required to run a good amenity service. It demands several things. And so the beauty shop cannot be a fully independent, separate entity that you don't have to work with. That is the most important thing. They are partners. And so I would start there. Too often I've seen, in not with my current clients, but in my industry experience, I've seen, communities are like, well, we don't deal with that, or we don't know the answer to that. So it's just, or they deliberately kind of avoid getting involved in the beauty shop because it's a scary place and it's complicated. So that's something we have to change. Yeah,
and I think pre-COVID, you can see where you can sort of farm this out and you don't need to worry about it. I've got a subcontractor, or I've got a team member, she or he handles all of that. But in the COVID world, if you have these subcontractors coming in and entering, you need
to manage your vendors and you need to be up in their business. Let's just put it really bluntly. Do not assume that the company or the everybody has great intentions, but please do not assume that they are covering all aspects of risk reduction and that they are that they can even afford to meet all of these things that we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to try to pace myself a little before I get. Also, another thing, I'm very passionate about this. So if I start getting, if I start rambling a little bit, it's just because I'm getting excited. But
I'll
so-
get you back on track.
okay. So the beauty shop cannot just be a hands-off, not in the know type of place. You have to be involved. It takes coordination with the community staff. Okay. So, and that brings me to, that's a little bit, that ties into community culture, which is the next thing. The community culture, sharing information, goals, planning,
policies,
policies, making people feel like they're a part of something, appealing to them in their sense of, making them feel invested in the process of the community. That's very important. And so that's a culture thing.
Yeah, and because you work with so many different communities in different jurisdictions, and I'm assuming you have a really good bird's eye view of how, like, let's just say testing and screening of people coming and going to a community. Every community there's no standard here. I mean, so you're juggling, different policies.
Honestly, it's the biggest game of chess and checkers I've ever played in my life. Every state, so I have several community, I'm in the mid-Atlantic area. So I have salons in, Maryland, DC, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. So every place is different. Every company and corporate culture is different. And I just wanted to bring that into part of my presentation, that the culture has to be one that is a sharing and planning and empathetic and flexible culture. It's very important because it doesn't work if it's not.
Great. Yeah. So that's a challenge. And how, one of the things that was interesting is that, and I guess we're going to get to testing and things of that nature, but a company culture for you is where it impacts is that some places are including your stylists in their testing protocol. Others are having you do that separately.
Right. And some of that is not all based on culture. It's just some places have more resources than others also, but you can always tell if it's a difference in like intention and what people are willing to do. Like my company, we don't just do the minimum to get by. We want to make our own policies and our own practices that we know will work. And there are, there's places out there that are kind of like, just like, no, we just have our checklist and let's just do the minimum to get by. So I partner with my clients or more like myself and my company's culture, where we're all sort of in sync and we want to be proactive instead of reactive. So that's just very important.
Excellent. Now I know retaining stylists, I was kind of blown away to learn how much is involved and how much, you do to make sure that the stylists come back, show up to work, and, embrace the customer service that needs.
So this is sort of a part of the reset. This might come as a shock to everyone, but there is not a line out the door of quality licensed hairstylists that are just, no questions asked, eager to jump right back into work, especially in senior living, because we do have the stereotypes out there, it's on the news and on TV, as far as, linking senior living to COVID. It's just, this is part of the reset. So having a quality stylist that is reliable, comes to work on time, doesn't call out a lot, does killer roller sets. Everybody likes her. She's in compliance with everything you ask her to do, her or him. You need to keep them. It's really important. And so there is, these people, no one is working 3 days a week in a beauty shop in a senior living place and using that to pay their mortgage. Okay, they're uniquely positioned people economically. They started working so that they could have a little bit of supplemental income. They still wanted to do hair like they used to, when they're in their 20s, and they want to still do hair, but they don't want to be working, every Thursday night and every Saturday, and they don't want to be competing and for walk-ins and selling retail and upselling services and things like that. So it's a very unique person that works and does these services inside of senior living communities. So treat them that way. They are precious volunteers. That is how you need to treat them. Please believe me. They do not have shift work mentality. This is not their third job on an afternoon shift that they mix in with a bunch of others and they just need to come in and clock out. That's not who they are. They're there for relationships because they enjoy the residents. They have they're drawn to caring for other people. Their check might pay their phone bill and maybe the family's car insurance, but that's it. So, you need to appeal to them on that level. They're not there to clock in and clock out.
And one of the reasons that I really like this discussion is this is not unique to salons and senior living. It's unique to everything in senior living. Is that our field is not the sexiest field to get into. It wasn't before COVID, and it certainly is not now, because everybody's nervous that this is sort of considered ground zero, next to the White House as the place where COVID infection occurs. So so some of the things that Rachel is sharing with us are universal, whether you're operating a home care agency or, a salon and a senior living.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, I could do a whole separate hour on that. But please recognize, find out why your stylist is there. Make sure you know why they've chosen that job. Is it the schedule? Is it the relationships with the residents? What's their financial situation? Why are they there? Because you need to know that, and you need to retain them, because I'll tell you, if we don't maintain those relationships with them, you're just going to constantly be fighting and trying to get someone to do those services.
Hey, Rachel, this is a great question that Alice Whitfield has, and we can kind of jump to some of the images that you have on your slide deck. Alice Whitfield says, do you use sanitizer at each workstation soon as the client leaves the chair?
Oh yeah.
Want to give us how about I advance to some of those slides that you gave me?
Sure. So if you want to go down to the bar, so that's a sanitization station. Go down a couple more. There we go. Okay. So these are some examples of my stations. So that you'll see the blue bottle down on the roller cart. That is called barbicide, and that should be there. That should be accessible to the stylist to use at every station. So when a resident gets up, literally as the resident is walking away, they spray the chair, arm rest, neck, and they let that barbicide sit there while they do the paperwork for the resident upon leaving. That barbicide sits there for maybe 10 minutes, and then they wipe it up and it's completely sanitized. Those are my signs that I had made up to help keep the stylist organized and kind of remembering, like, did I get that chair or did I not do that chair? Because we also need to spray the barbicide on the shampoo bowls in the neck area, and on the neck and arm rests of the shampoo bowl, and the chairs with the hood dryers above them. So that barbicide is very important. Those particular bottles are sold out. So if you cannot find them, you just simply get a plastic bottle in a Sharpie and you label it barbicide, because it has to be labeled, because that blue solution in a non-labeled spray bottle looks a whole lot like setting lotion, which is also blue. So please, yes, so it's that exact shade. So have your barbicide available for the stylist.
Now, I think, you know, the signage that you've got is important for the stylists, obviously, to keep things.
It is because if you're
it's actually, for me, like if my mom is going into the hair salon, I like the idea that you have this bold signage by your stations. In fact, like if I ever return to a hair salon, you know, regardless if it's a senior living, I really like this approach of very clear signage. It gives the customer peace of mind.
You know why? Because it's not just about following the rules. It's about comforting people and making sure that they feel cared for and that that we are doing their due diligence. Perception is everything, right? So I can't tell you, these signs, when I made them, I just kind of did it on a whim, like, well, this will help the stylist. And I've had state board inspectors, residents, family members just over the moon about it. So it's a good idea. It's a really good idea.
And on signage, let's kind of go back up to this. This is an example of the signage that is at the entryway to all the salons that you're managing.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about this, because I think there's a pretty deep story here in the expectations of the customer going into the salon.
So when we first reopened in June, I did these signs and I thought, if I just put up an 8.5 by 11 typed up Word document in 16 fonts, am I really going to be able to stop walk-ins? No. You know, because you cannot have walk-ins right now. That is not allowed. No, and not in any state. You cannot have walk-ins. It is an appointment-based only, and they have to have a mask on. So I thought, I'm going to make a really pretty, eye-catching sign that's quite bold. And so I did it as a dry erase board so that we could fluctuate in case protocols changed. So that's why I have that, you know, it says or mask. That's what the blue writing is for. And also every state has different capacity maximums. So it's easy for me to write on there with my stylist, to write with the blue dry erase, you know, how many residents are allowed, what to expect when you come in. Now these protocols and rules are, they're a little different. I mean, if you're in an independent living salon, we do allow people to bring in a smart device. My initial concern was we didn't want to have people holding down their mask, answering a telephone. That's why it says no cell phones. But we definitely don't want to have things like blankets, magazines, big coats. You know, we never handle cash, and so and I also wanted to defer to CDC just because everything is sort of wonky right now and state to state. I would rather be overly cautious, so I put CDC. And then at all times possible, we will do 6 feet.
Okay.
But
great.
So this kind of ties into our next bullet point of trust. You know, we want to convey a sense of trust for the residents and for the family members and also for the stylist, that they feel like you've got their back and that there's structure to this process. That's a win for you.
Yeah. Hey, we've got Alice Whitfield raising her hand to ask a question. Alice, sometimes it's a mistake when people press that button, but
yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Rachel. Hi, Steve.
Hi.
Okay, so this question goes out to Rachel. Rachel, before the COVID strike, you know, sometimes when you are at the salon and you are dealing with a customer and I will use rollers, for example. You have rulers and, at the very end, you're looking for the last ruler and that's not the size. And you may step over to another station and pick up that ruler. Now that the COVID is in, how do you handle that situation?
Wow. Yeah. Think about all these things that we have to think about now. Great question there, Alice.
Right. So all rollers are sanitized in between residents. So it should be no problem to get a roller from an enclosed sanitized space, no matter which station it's at. All of those rollers can be used across the salon. Once they come off of a scalp, they're inside of a sink. They get rinsed down and sprayed with that barbicide. It's sanitized. So at that point, when it's in an enclosed combined sanitized place and it's dry and clean and ready, it's okay to reach over to another station and get one. You don't want to grab a used one that hasn't been cleaned yet, of course, but to use supplies, it's okay. As long as it's fresh and ready to go.
Great. And Pam Mills has a great question and comment. Getting your hair done is so essential for a person's well-being while living in a residential community. I think we can all agree on that. That's a great comment there. Thank you for all you do. The scalp, water, and touching can be very sensitive areas for people living with dementia. Do stylists in your company learn person-centered techniques for assisting in the ways that comfort in easing the experience?
Sure. So I always find that, so that's a really good point. So with touch, any person that has a different level of cognitive ability, I always tell them what I'm about to do, and I always ask them permission, even if they can't understand me, because somehow they don't exactly know what you're saying, but there's something there where they understand the intent. And so I'd always tell my stylist to say, okay, now we're going to shampoo you, and we keep talking to them, just as if they were independent living residents. So of course we don't want to be abrupt and give harsh scrubs like some people prefer. We would certainly ease into that process with them and maybe be more gentle at first, because it's always easier to assess when you're gentle.
Yeah, I think no, it's a great I mean, one of the things that Rachel is juggling is as she had mentioned, is keeping her stylists happy, but also sort of, again, being able to weave in some training, but it could be, I could see a cool Zoom training session with somebody like Pam on working with people in dementia that stylists could take.
And I could tell you, do our stylists interact more carefully with, they know when they have memory support and memory care residents in their salon. So we absolutely approach it in a more soft and
I think one of the things that you wanted to throw out there is how you interact with the staff of the community, in that your directors of nursing are, reaching out, your stylists are in direct communication with the care managers and what.
Oh yeah, if you have a brand new resident and their memory support and it would not be evident to the stylist that they are, please call down to the salon, talk about the new resident, talk about what kind of, what triggers them to feel uncomfortable. If what triggers them to feel uncomfortable, what should we avoid, what do they like? Those are all important things. So yes, absolutely. That's COVID or not COVID. That's very, very important.
Rachel, because we talked about now touching the residents to do the shampoo and things of that nature, might be a good opportunity to take a peek at some of the images that you're sharing and talk a little bit about PPE.
So maybe let's go back to that slide, right? So with the bullet points there,
yep.
I do want to pause and go back to trust and transparency. Okay, because that is very, very important in terms of what we're talking about today with COVID. So the quickest way to shut a salon down is not COVID, it's not a positive case, it's having a positive case and not telling the stylist. You need to tell the stylist needs to find out the same day that all of your managers find out. Is very important. It's very unnerving and scary to find out, you know, second and third hand from family members or CNAs, like, oh, by the way, we had a positive case last week. No, we need to know right away with the managers, management level information. And the reason why, you don't need to tell us who, we just need to know if we were exposed possibly, and if they are a client of ours, and then we just need to know. And the reason, it builds a sense of trust. It makes us feel like you're invested in us like the way we're invested in you. So it's very, very important. I don't care what any inspector tells you, what the minimum requirement is to report it. We need to be your trusted vendor, and we want to be informed. We want to be in the loop.
Yeah, and you can see with any outside vendor, you can see how hard this is for a management team, because you have these subcontractors, and you sort of, in the old world, you could think of them as separate folks that you don't really need to keep in the loop. But in this world now, you've got to view those subcontractors as your employees.
Exactly.
And just imagine how upset your employee would be if they're walking down a hall and a resident is telling them, giving them vital information about a positive test that they didn't know about.
Right.
Yeah. So,
right. And so it just makes us feel like we're in the loop, we're safe. And we need to feel that way, because I'm telling, in the salon is, I mean, we're 2 feet from residents' range of breath for 6 to 8 hours in a row for extended amount of time. This is not a place where we can be this far and we can always gauge our distance. And we are very up close, personal, hands-on. So in that sense, we are the most important department for risk management.
hey, got another really good question here from Abby from the Department of Social Services. How about when you cut a client's hair and the hair is all over the floor? I knew before COVID, the floor is swept immediately, but with COVID, how do you sanitize the floor in between residents after sweeping the hair off the floor?
You sweep. That's it. We can't sanitize floors, just as the floors upstairs in the common areas are not sanitized every time someone walks over them.
Okay.
It's not something that would be manageable, but we absolutely sweep it. There is something related to that is a little bit further down in our list, and I'll get to that in just a second with the housekeeping and deep clean.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. We've talked, what do you want to tackle next?
So capacity rules. Every state is different. Every county is different. Some of it's like square footage. Some of it's kind of like just a suggestion, like, well, you know, 1 resident, 1 stylist at a time. Oh, it's a little bigger, 1 resident, 2 stylists at a time. These are really important things. Really, really important, because it will impact everything. It'll determine how many residents can get their hair done in a week. So that needs to be determined before you open.
Okay.
And you can find that. We have some websites, some links attached. You can find that information. What you need to do is go online, but go to your county health department and find out how many people you can have in that space. It's very, very important. I know, for example, Montgomery County, right now, it's kind of interesting that you're allowed 1 person per 200 square feet. So you got to figure that out. You got to figure out what that means for your residents and for your stylists. You might have had 3 stylists before, and now you can only bring back 1. and you need to figure out which one should come back. And then you need to figure out if they work 2 days before, guess what? I bet you need them 5 days now because you can only have one resident per resident at a time. So it takes all this reconfiguring and flexibility to figure out what you need to do, and it needs to be communicated. So that brings us to our next bullet point. Communication is so important right now. You need to be on a texting or like an instant email basis with the stylist or a very effective salon manager. There is no way you can have a relationship or practice where you email somebody and then you hear back from them 4 days later and you just kind of touch base as you can. No. We have to have same business day communication at the least. And so I really recommend for directors or whoever, whatever point person is in charge of salon operations or relations at community level, please be on a text basis with your stylist. Just do it. I know it's kind of informal and out of the box, but there is no way that you can't, unless you have an office set up in the salon, there is no way that you can tell a stylist that Miss Lori actually went out to the dentist 2 days ago. She's still on quarantine. She can't have her perm today. She's got to wait 2 more weeks or whatever, or 10 days or whatever your community protocol is. You can't do that by emailing somebody a state away and then waiting for it to trickle down and somehow get to the stylist.
Yeah.
So get them on your text.
Okay. And then also, I guess in a lot of your communities, there's an aide or a staff member that's bringing the client down.
Oh, yep. So that would be the next thing. So it's very important that the community is looped into knowing who is scheduled to be serviced. Otherwise, there is no feedback loop for which residents, and this is very important for independent living. Assisted living and memory care, they're dependent on us to get there so we can catch things in time, sometimes by default. But with independent living, we need to know who's in isolation, who is not supposed to come out yet, who can be scheduled, who can't be. It's very, very important. So have the stylist share their schedule with you. Okay, it can't just be something that you find out later. It's very important to have a schedule. My company, we have a universal scheduling system, so we're computer based in all my salons, but there's still a feedback loop where, say for example, a life enrichment person is keeping track of who's in quarantine, who is not. We send them our schedule every week, so they know they have access to our list, and they can work with us and say, oh my goodness, Miss Agnes cannot come in until the 15th. Oh great, well we're going to call her and reschedule her and let her know, because most of the time it's just the resident didn't think to schedule with the salon. So these are all organizational things that are very important, but please be on a texting basis with your stylist. Please know who is scheduled for the salon, and also please coordinate their transportation appropriately for the assisted living. They deserve to come down for their appointment, and we shouldn't prioritize their salon appointment based on our schedules and our shifts. Bring them down.
No, that's good. And again, now more than ever, in order for your stylist to want to stay on, if they come in and they can only see one person at a time, and all of a sudden, at surprise, 2 people aren't coming down, and there's not.
Right. You are not going to keep that, depending on your model. You are not going to keep that style if they have a 2-hour hole in their day.
Yeah.
So
now, Brad has a follow-up question to the previous discussion. Rachel, by sweep, do you mean vacuum, or is one preferred over the other?
Broom, salon broom,
Okay, salon
Yep.
room. Okay, great.
and a dustpan.
And everybody's wearing, you know, PPE.
Oh yes, so let's talk about.
So like the fact that you're sweeping the hair.
The hair is not, the hair is not, right? So what's the danger? The danger is breath
Okay.
and
So
particles.
let's,
Yeah, we are, you know, our clothing is just the same as hair. Aww. So this is my DC team. I love them. They're so great. But this is their PPE. So my rule for my salon is there are no bare eyes and no, we have to wear masks. I do not allow cloth masks. I feel that that is like equivalent of getting some scotch tape and taping a piece of Kleenex to your face. So my stylists are required to wear either KN95s or N95 masks. No bare eyes. So, and this is DC, so face shields are required in DC. My other salons where it's kind of not regulated too much, they are given an option of goggles or glasses. And I always provide them and recommend face shields for the shampoo portion of the service. Bare eyes are, I mean, we know that. We know it's transmitted to the eyes. So that's very important. No bare eyes, no cloth masks.
and then let's see.
Oh, so here's my sanitization. That's our station. So when a resident walks into a salon, there should be hand sanitizer available. They should, in my opinion, they should have, and in most states, they need to have their temperature checked. For I prefer 99.5 as a threshold because the infrared no touch are usually a half of a degree off. So 99.5, I think CDC is 100.4, but we do take temperature. We ask them to sanitize their hands. If they don't want to sanitize their hands, then their other option is to walk over to the sink and to wash their hands with soap and water. We are not required ever to provide masks to residents, but we do keep a little box on hand in case somebody forgets or makes a mistake or they drop theirs. So it's good. They're cheap, right? The surgical mask, the blue ones. So it's important. Here's my KN95 masks that I got from China. Like a couple months ago, I was so scared that I wasn't going to be able to buy masks. So I procured a great deal of KN95 masks. Thankfully, they're easier to get now. So here also, which is another thing that is very, very important, are disposable capes. Please do not have, like we said, it's not business as usual, right? So in the past, the practice would be to have like 6 to maybe a dozen capes, and you would just lightly sanitize them and rotate them as they would be clean and dry throughout the day. And then you just wash them all at night. That's what we used to do before. It's not a good idea now. So I provide disposable capes. You should have them too. They're a little pricey. They are, I think it's $25 for 50, but I can tell you, it really makes people feel good, and it reassures them that, that you're protecting them. So very important, disposable capes.
Okay. Oh, let's see okay, we did that. Okay, here.
Yeah, so gloves are very, very important. We need gloves. These are some really great face shields that I found. They're nice and light. You have to wear a mask underneath, but it really gives you a sense of protection, but also it doesn't have that sort of big blue bulky headband. So I like those. So I've been buying those recently. So the sneeze guard, many states are not allowing nail services yet. Just get one so that you're ready for when you can resume nail services. People are over the moon about when they see that. They're like, oh, thank God you have one of those. My daughter gets her nails done and I knew they had those and I didn't know if they had them here. They love seeing that. Then there's your infrared thermometer. There's just one example from Amazon. There's our hand sanitizer. The smock works great. It makes it, again, it's perception, but it sort of makes the stylist feel like, okay, I'm protecting myself a little bit more. I'm doing a little extra, and it makes the resident feel good too. But there are counties that require surgical gowns, and they did require it in the beginning. And I asked, and they said, well, if you have a full smock, that's okay. I was like, sweet, we're going to do the cute black smock instead.
Okay.
So get
Now,
those.
are you leaving it up to your stylist to get to clean those, or do you?
So that
clean-
goes right in the wash along with all the towels and
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
There's the highly coveted barbicide, but again, you're welcome to get a spray bottle of any type. Just make sure it's labeled so that you're in compliance with state board, and write barbicide on the side. It's 10 minutes. It needs to set on all services that are touched by the resident.
Yeah, and then the disposable capes. I mean, I don't think I've ever had my hair cut with a disposable cape, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you do not want a cape that's been on somebody earlier in the day. So yeah, just do it. Oh, and so here's the link. So this is a really neat link to reference. It gives you state by state guidelines. And then
I'm going to drop this into chat.
Okay, no problem. So yeah, so it's called Behind the Chair. It's an information resource, great for salons. And then another link that I have there will coincide with our next bullet point, but I'll wait until we get back.
All right.
Okay, so PPE, and I'm going to talk about testing right now. So please test the stylists along with your staff. If you can, just do it. Here's why. It is, in the beginning, it was so hard. I had stylists driving to different CVS's and trying to call urgent cares and trying so hard to go back to work. And there were places that they had to wait in line for 2 hours. And I was like, okay, this is maddening. This is not going to work. Why are we not being tested with the community? And we had some that were like, yeah, come on, no problem. We're doing it on Tuesday. Just come on over. That makes sense. And then I had some places that were like, we would love to, but we actually don't even have enough swabs to do it. We hardly have enough swabs to take care of our own staff. So I had an executive director up in Baltimore. She's fantastic. She said, she gave me this link and it solved all my problems. So LabCorp, and if you could go back to the links real quick, LabCorp does a home test kit, and it's like a lifesaver. So it's pixel.labcorp.com, and it's free. You know why? Because you click, what I've been told, you click, I work in congregate living environment, and somehow it's free. So if you don't have insurance, right? So if you have insurance, you put your insurance information, they charge your insurance, you still say you work in congregate living. We haven't been billed yet. But there is an option that says, I do not have insurance. And then you click, I work in congregate living. It's still a zero balance. So the test kit is mailed to their home, and you just follow the directions. You swab the bottom of your nose and you mail it back. All the instructions are there to call FedEx. And then when you have to register your code, and then of course, so you have to mail it out the same day that you take the swab. That's very important. And
how is the turnaround like on that testing?
3 days.
Wow.
3 to 4 days. And especially if you do it, you want to make sure you do it on a weekday. But that test kit saved my business, because otherwise it was just going to be a mess. So I was just so happy to get that. And then so what the stylist does is she or he, they get their report. They send me a quick screenshot. I send that screenshot off to the director. The director feels really good because we're testing every week just like they are. It's easy peasy. So testing is very important. Another thing I want to say about testing, if we go into another shutdown, do not let the stylist, don't make sure that they continue testing. You know why? It is so important to have those results before you start back. So say, for example, we go into shutdown for 3 weeks. Have them keep testing. It's still important for them to be safe and to be, we need to know if they, you know what I mean? Like, just keep them on the testing roster. They can come and get tested every week. They can keep doing their home test kit. There should be no pause in testing just because the salon has to pause. So I really encourage that. That way, when you pick back up and you're ready to reopen, the residents are not waiting another week or 2 waiting for the stylist to get their next results. They can just jump right back in. So that's very important.
I told you this was going to go by quick. We're already at 1 o'clock, so that hour just flew by.
Okay.
But so what are the points to kind of wrap things up? Like, what are the things that we've missed? And
So I
I'm
will
going
tell you really
to
quickly.
share your contact info with everybody, so if people have detailed questions.
Okay. So yes. So one, I'm just going to leave you also with this. Different communities have different contract terms with their hairstylists or the company that they're with. It is important, no matter what your contract says, to make sure that housekeeping is in a routine and prepared in such a way that the salon gets a deep clean once or even twice a week. That means the salon needs to be mopped twice a week. We always do our own tidying and our own basic cleanup, but the stylist cannot clean the floors. Like, we don't have industrial moppet bucks and buckets and like hot water to, in the cleaner to clean floors. So please, if you have the power, make sure that your housekeeping team is ready to deep clean the salon once or twice a week. Make sure the laundry is done every single day. That is not a matter of convenience for us. It's a matter of safety for the residents and reduction in risk management and prevention of virus spread on those towels. Like, they have to be clean and fresh and ready. Then you don't have to fold them all neat and put them back up in the in the cupboard and all that kind of thing. Just put them back in a clean bag, tie it up, get it ready for us the next day so that we have towels to use on the residents. Signage, invest the money and make the signs. Stop the walk-ins. Give the residents instructions on what to expect. Have a plan in place with your stylist before they come back in. Have it in writing. Email them. Say, what is your plan? Give me a bullet point of what you're prepared to do. And if they send you email back that says, oh, I'm going to wear masks and I have some Purell. No. Well, no. Hold on. What is our plan? Here's how it's going to work. So my communities are just amazing. And so between myself and them, we just locked this down and we were prepared before we even went in. And that's why I'm 100% open. But for the independent vendors out there that don't have access to all the resources that I do, I just want so badly to help them and in the communities, because you know why? It's so important. We're not just the beauty shop anymore. Every decision and choice that we make on a daily basis, from moment to moment, from resident to resident, we're stewards of people's lives now and their ability to live and to be healthy. We have to take this so seriously. And so let's not do the minimum. Let's not just check it off our list and say, oh yeah, they're back. It's not my worry. Please go the extra step, partner with your stylist, make them a part of your team, communication, give them a feeling of trust. Don't leave any stone unturned. Look at the salon, go in there for 30 minutes one day and take a look and see the physical interactions and how close it is. I get so like emotional and passionate about this, but please,
I love it.
It's
Yeah.
so important, everyone. It's so important because we are the gatekeepers for this process. And if we're in flex with each other and we're just going at this and we're on top of all the details and, then it will work. We'll be able to close down and flex back open. And as we get a vaccine coming, then maybe we'll be able to breathe a little bit, but let's just do this.
Yeah. This is great. And
Yeah.
I'm going to leave this. We're going to wrap things up, but I'm going to leave this. I'm probably going to have you back on. Number one, you did a great job. But number two, you're part of this vaccine trial program, aren't you?
Yeah. So that's a little side story. That's a whole nother show, but I did.
That's what I was going to say. I'd love to have you back on just to learn more about that. So,
I was going to do anything to save my business. And I'm so passionate about this. And I love science. And I went and I volunteered for the Moderna trials. Yeah. And I had both of my doses and I have a really good feeling. I have an antibody test on Saturday. I have a really good feeling that I got the vaccine, but I'm just ready to do whatever it takes to stop this. I mean, I'm not going to let this, we can't just sit back and let this happen.
No, you're very proactive and thank you for sharing all of this.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's a whole nother story, but it was such a pleasure to be here. And I want to just offer this up. If anybody has any questions or needs help opening their salons, reopening, or if you want to just put me in touch with your stylist, if they need some help or some advice, I'm so happy to give it. And there's my contact information. So please connect with me on LinkedIn and feel free to email me directly.
And I'll email out your contact info. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Rachel. This has been awesome. And we'll see everybody next week. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.